Good afternoon. This is All India Radio. I am Saira Mujtaba and with me is Renu Kataria with the Midday News. The headlines. 4-member Home Ministry team in West Bengal to assess post-poll violence in the state. India administers over 16 crore 25 lakh COVID-19 vaccine doses in the country so far. Centre provides more than 17.15 crore vaccine doses to states and union territories. Over 4,12,000 new COVID cases reported in the country in the past 24 hours. More than 3,29,000 patients recovered in the last 24 hours. National recovery rate 81.99%. Kerala to impose complete statewide lockdown from 8th to 16th of May. In Tamil Nadu, the new government led by the DMK President M.K. Stalin to be sworn in tomorrow. Former Union Minister and Rashtriya Lok Dal Chief Ajit Singh passes away after battling with COVID. President, Vice President and Prime Minister expressed grief over the demise. And 3 terrorists killed in an encounter with security forces in South Kashmir's Shopian district. As the number of COVID cases is on the rise, we appeal to our listeners to take all precautions and all those above 18 years of age to get vaccinated without any hesitation. Vaccination for persons between 18 and 44 years of age has begun at designated facilities. Stay safe and protected by following these 3 simple steps. Wear a face mask, maintain 2 gaz ki duri for social distancing, focus on hand and face hygiene. And now the news in detail. The Union Home Ministry has sent a 4-member team led by an additional secretary-level officer to West Bengal today. The team will assess the situation in the state and will submit a detailed report on increased incidents of violence, especially after the polls. Earlier, the Home Ministry had written a letter to the Chief Secretary of West Bengal regarding reports of increase in violence in the state after the counting process of state assembly elections concluded on the 2nd of this month. The team is likely to submit its report in the next 48 hours. Union Minister of State for External Affairs M. Muralidharan has been attacked by miscreants after he arrived at Ground Zero to inspect the post-poll violence in the state. He visited the houses of the party workers who were allegedly oppressed by the miscreants of Trinamool Congress. Some politically backed mobs reportedly attacked the convoy of the Union Minister of State with sticks. The minister's car was vandalized and several journalists were injured in the attack. India has administered over 16 crore 25 lakh COVID-19 vaccine doses in the country so far. The Union Health Ministry said that more than 19 lakh 55,000 beneficiaries were inoculated with COVID-19 vaccine doses in the last 24 hours. Meanwhile, a total number of 4,12,262 new cases were reported in the country in the past 24 hours. The Health Ministry said 3,980 deaths were also reported during the last 24 hours, taking the toll to over 2,30,000 across the country. The country's COVID-19 recovery rate is at 81.99%, with recovery of more than 3,29,000 patients in the last 24 hours. The ministry said that more than 1 crore 72 lakh patients have already recovered from this disease. Presently, the total number of active cases in the country is over 35,66,000, which comprises 16.92% of total positive cases. The Indian Council of Medical Research said that various laboratories have conducted more than 19,23,000 tests of coronavirus samples during the last 24 hours. The cumulative number of COVID tests done so far in the country is more than 29 crore 67 lakhs.
The centre has so far provided more than 17.15 crore vaccine doses to states and UTs free of cost. Of this, the total consumption, including wastages, is over 16 crore 26 lakh doses. Health Ministry said more than 89 lakh COVID vaccine doses are still available with the states and UTs to be administered. The ministry said more than 28 lakh vaccine doses will be received in addition by the states and UTs within the next 3 days. Implementation of the liberalized and accelerated Phase 3 strategy of COVID-19 vaccination has started from 1st of this month. Registration for the new eligible population groups has commenced since 28th April. Potential beneficiaries can either register directly on CoWIN portal, cowin.gov.in, or through the Arogya Setu app. The Health and Family Welfare Ministry has refuted the media reports alleging that oxygen concentrators are pending at the customs warehouse for getting clearance from the customs authorities. The ministry has termed these media reports completely incorrect, saying that these are not based on facts. The Central Board of Indirect Taxes and Customs (CBIC) has asserted that there is no oxygen concentrators lying in the warehouse of the Customs Department. It has clarified that there is no such pendency and custom authorities are clearing all the consignments. It further said the oxygen concentrators are either delivered to the identified tertiary care institutions or being dispatched for delivery. It said the relief materials have been dispatched through road and air mode. CBIC said custom authorities are sensitive to the need for availability of COVID-related imports, including oxygen and oxygen-related equipments. It said authorities are working 24/7 to fast-track and clear the goods.
Defence Minister Rajnath Singh has said that armed forces and other organizations of the Defence Ministry are continuously engaged in mitigating the suffering of the people during the present COVID crisis. He said new COVID facilities and oxygen plants have been set up and additional health professionals have been deployed for the treatment of COVID patients. Mr. Singh said nearly 750 beds in various military hospitals have been set aside for civilians, while Armed Forces Medical Services also dedicated 19 hospitals having 4,000 beds and 585 ICU units. He said Defence Research and Development Organisation has set up several COVID facilities in various parts of the country. He added that DRDO has initiated fabrication of 500 medical oxygen plants under the PM CARES Fund. The Defence Minister said Indian Air Force and Indian Navy are engaged in supply of medical oxygen from foreign countries. The Delhi government has issued directions for COVID patients who require oxygen cylinders during home isolation. The step has been taken to streamline the supply of oxygen and avoid public gathering outside the oxygen cylinder refilling plants. In an order, the Delhi government has said that all persons requiring oxygen for home isolation can apply on the Delhi government portal delhi.gov.in with a valid photo ID, Aadhaar card details and COVID positive report of the patient. The received applications will be scrutinized and the e-passes will be issued. The district magistrate will identify dedicated dealers and depots to distribute oxygen cylinders to the individuals. The district magistrate will ensure that the dealers regularly get their cylinders refilled from the designated refilling plants. In the Union Territory of Jammu and Kashmir, Lieutenant Governor Manoj Sinha has directed senior doctors, health officials and chief medical officers to increase additional 1,050 oxygen beds in Kashmir Division to ensure immediate treatment for the people requiring hospitalization during these difficult times. Mr. Sinha was chairing a series of meetings with senior doctors and chief medical officers of Kashmir Division at Civil Secretariat in Srinagar, in which he reviewed the COVID-19 situation and containment measures put in place to effectively control the spread of the virus. He directed that increased bed capacity with oxygen should be ready within a week's time, which would substantially improve the health infrastructure and help out patients in this hour of crisis.
Bruhad Bengaluru Mahanagara Palike Chief Commissioner Gaurav Gupta has said that the COVID surge is mounting pressure on the hospitals as demand for ICUs and oxygenated beds increased, especially in Bengaluru urban district, which reported 23,106 new COVID cases yesterday. Speaking to media persons in Bengaluru today, he informed that efforts are on to increase beds plugged with oxygen concentrators. More from our correspondent.
BBMP Chief Commissioner Gaurav Gupta has informed 168 general beds are now converted into oxygenated beds and efforts are on to convert 50% of beds in COVID care centers into oxygenated beds. He also informed that 2,000 beds are now available in the COVID care centers in the city and more will be created in the coming days. Talks are on with 15 hotels to provide 945 beds for the COVID care in the city. Saying that 25 to 30% of people admitted in ICUs can step down to another facility, the Chief Commissioner said that 90% of COVID patients do not need hospital bed and hence should shift to COVID care centers, making way for those who are critical. Sudhindra, AIR News, Bengaluru.
Kerala government has declared complete lockdown across the state from May 8th to 16th on account of huge surge in COVID cases.
Chief Minister's office informed that the complete lockdown in Kerala will come into effect from 6 in the morning, day after tomorrow, and will continue for 9 days. Only essential service will be permitted. The details of the lockdown will only be known as the official order will be released today evening. The decision was taken as the COVID scenario continued to worsen in the state as 41,953 positive cases were confirmed yesterday. The test positivity rate is at 25.69%. Presently, over 3,75,000 active COVID cases are there in Kerala. Mayusha for AR News from Thiruvananthapuram.
Leh district will be under lockdown from tonight till Monday morning. District DDMA chairman issued additional restrictions to contain the fast spread of coronavirus in the district. More from our correspondent.
After alarming rise in number of COVID positive cases, Leh DDMA ordered for additional restrictions in the district. Following the COVID curfew last weekend, an 80-hour lockdown is ordered starting from today 9 in the night to 5 in the Monday morning in Leh district. During the restricted period, all government, judicial offices, essential and emergency services like power, water, banks, commercial services like petrol pumps, cold storages, ATMs, and army and paramilitary movement, COVID vaccination, testing and medical emergencies and public transport for the relaxed categories are allowed. DDMA also arranged helplines and e-pass facilities to address emergencies. Passengers and tourists coming to Leh can produce their ticket or boarding passes for their movement. Ramesh Chandra, All India Radio News, Leh.
In Bihar, the number of COVID cases continues to rise rapidly. A record number of 14,836 cases were reported yesterday. 160 people died during the last 24 hours. With this, the number of casualties due to the pandemic has gone up to 2,987. The positivity rate has gone up to about 16%. Active cases have crossed 1,13,479. Recovery rate is decreasing and now stands at 78.38%. 1,02,152 people took the vaccine yesterday. Over 76,60,571 people were vaccinated in the state. Madhya Pradesh on Wednesday reported 12,319 COVID-19 cases and 71 fatalities, taking the tally of infections in the state to 6,24,985 and the death toll to 6,074. Meanwhile, Chief Minister Shivraj Singh Chauhan has stressed upon the need to break the chain of infection completely by adopting stern measures for a few more days. He said that saving people's lives is the biggest priority of the government. More from our Bhopal correspondent.
There has been a decline in the weekly new cases of corona in the state. The state's weekly positivity rate is 20.3%, while recovery rate is 84.7% and death rate is 1%. The number of active cases in the state stands at 89,244. A total of 9,643 patients recovered from infection yesterday. More than 200 new cases of COVID have been reported in 12 districts of the state. The active cases in Indore stands at 12,930, while Bhopal has 11,107 such cases. Pooja Pivardhan, AIR News, Bhopal.
Former Union Minister and Rashtriya Lok Dal Chief Ajit Singh passed away today after battling with COVID. Mr. Singh was undergoing treatment at a private hospital in Gurugram after being diagnosed with the COVID infection. He had tested positive for COVID on 20th of April. President Ramnath Kovind has expressed grief over the demise of Ajit Singh. In a tweet today, Mr. Kovind said, Mr. Singh always raised his voice in the interest of the farmers. He said as a public representative and a minister, Ajit Singh has left a unique mark on the politics of the country. Prime Minister Narendra Modi has also expressed grief over the demise of former Union Minister Chaudhry Ajit Singh. In a tweet, the Prime Minister said, Chaudhry Ajit Singh efficiently discharged the responsibilities of several departments at the centre. Information and Broadcasting Minister Prakash Javadekar has also expressed grief and said Ajit Ji's entire life was dedicated to the welfare of the farmers and he made many notable contributions in public life.
You are listening to the Midday News on All India Radio. A reminder of the headlines before we move on. 4-member Home Ministry team in West Bengal to assess post-poll violence in the state. India administers over 16 crore 25 lakh COVID-19 vaccine doses in the country so far. Centre provides more than 17.15 crore vaccine doses to states and union territories. Over 4,12,000 new COVID cases reported in the country in the past 24 hours. More than 3,29,000 patients recovered in the last 24 hours. National recovery rate 81.99%. Kerala to impose complete state-wise lockdown from 8th to 16th May. In Tamil Nadu, the new government led by the DMK President M.K. Stalin to be sworn in tomorrow. Former Union Minister and Rashtriya Lok Dal Chief Ajit Singh passes away after battling with COVID. President, Vice President and Prime Minister expressed grief over the demise. And 3 terrorists killed in an encounter with security forces in South Kashmir's Shopian district. For quick news updates round the clock, follow us on our Twitter handle at AIR News Alerts.
चलो मिलकर एक शुरुआत करें, चलो एक फैसला आज करें, मास्क नहीं तो टोकेंगे, कोरोना को रोकेंगे, चलो एक इरादा करते हैं, चलो कुछ वादा करते हैं, मास्क नहीं तो टोकेंगे, कोरोना को रोकेंगे.
Welcome back. You're listening to the Midday News. In Tamil Nadu, the new government led by the DMK President M.K. Stalin will be sworn in tomorrow morning. State Governor Banwari Lal Purohit will administer the oath of office and secrecy in a simple function to be held in the Raj Bhavan premises in Chennai at 9 a.m. Earlier, the governor appointed Mr. Stalin as the Chief Minister after he presented the letters of support of his party MLAs. More from our correspondent.
The Raj Bhavan premises in the state capital are being decked up for the coronation of the DMK chief M.K. Stalin and his new cabinet. After a decade, the Dravidian party comes back to power. His party roamed home with a win in 133 seats on its own in the recent elections, more than the magic figure of 118 to have an absolute majority. Its strength is further reinforced by the win of its alliance partners in 26 other seats. This is the 6th time the DMK comes to power in the southern state and the first time under the stewardship of Mr. Stalin. Meanwhile, the legislature party meetings of the principal opposition AIADMK and the DMK's ally Indian National Congress are scheduled to be held in Chennai tomorrow to elect their legislature party leaders, whips and other functionaries. Jai Singh, AR News, Chennai.
In West Bengal, 143 newly elected MLAs are taking oath in the assembly today. 64 MLAs are taking oath in the first phase from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. MLAs of Kolkata, North and South 24 Parganas are taking oath in the first phase. Shampukur Trinamool Congress MLA Shashi Panja took the first oath. Protem Speaker Subrata Mukherjee administered the oath to them. 69 MLAs will be sworn in the second phase from 2 p.m. to 4 p.m. Another 147 MLAs will be sworn in tomorrow. Once the swearing-in of the MLAs is completed, the session of the Legislative Assembly will be held for one day on Saturday. The ruling Trinamool Congress has already re-announced Biman Banerjee as the Speaker of the Assembly.
External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar participated in the G7 Foreign Ministers meeting through video conference yesterday. After the meeting, he said it was an interactive and thought-provoking meeting. He appreciated the opportunity to participate in its many conversations. During the meeting, it was discussed that vaccination is the only lasting solution to the COVID-19 challenge. A global answer will require diversified production, uninterrupted supply chains and generous resourcing. Dr. Jaishankar said India will do its part.
We are responding to the immediacy of the second wave, but we have a plan beyond that. The immediacy is centered around oxygen, medicines, healthcare support system. The plan is really to expand vaccination because vaccinations is the way out of COVID. It's not a silver bullet, but it's as close as anybody can come to it. Do we have an economic plan? Absolutely. The production-linked incentive is a great example of that. Do we have a foreign policy plan? You can see that in operation today. You can see the enormous goodwill that we have accumulated, both historically, but especially in the last 7 years. I think that goodwill today is in full display. That goodwill today is really helping the people of India.
Mumbai has been trying to control COVID cases in second wave. Supreme Court had yesterday lauded the Mumbai model for oxygen supply. Our Mumbai correspondent has filed this report on the Mumbai model.
In March 2020, the first patient of COVID-19 was reported in Mumbai. From that day, Mumbai's administration is continuously improving health facilities. Brihan Mumbai Municipal Corporation has set up war rooms in all 24 wards. 10 ambulances are attached to each war room. It coordinates bed availability for patients in government and private hospitals. Various jumbo COVID centers are set up in Mumbai. At present, Mumbai has more than 31,000 beds, out of which around 13,000 has oxygen facility and 3,000 are ICU. For uninterrupted supply of oxygen, 6 officers are appointed in Mumbai. BMC's 2 hospitals have oxygen plants and 12 others will be soon available. Various awareness campaigns are being carried out through various mediums in the city. People not wearing masks are penalized in market, railway stations and other public places. Jeevan Bhavsar, AIR News, Mumbai.
Assam Chief Minister Sarbananda Sonowal is holding a video conference with all the deputy commissioners now in Guwahati on COVID situation. Several senior officials are also attending the conference. Earlier also, Mr. Sonowal held review meetings with various district administrations on the current COVID situation. Over 4,800 positive cases were reported in Assam yesterday, while 55 persons lost their lives.
The Union Health Ministry has said that COVID-19 supplies received from the global community have been effectively allocated to states and union territories by the centre. The ministry said that the Government of India has been receiving international donations of COVID-19 relief medical supplies and equipment since the 27th of last month from different countries including the United Kingdom, Ireland, Romania, Russia, UAE, USA, Taiwan, Kuwait, France, Thailand, Germany, Uzbekistan, Belgium and Italy. The first consignment of oxygen concentrators from Israel has arrived in New Delhi. In his message, Israeli Ambassador Ron Malka has said that more such flights will follow throughout this week, carrying emergency medical aid including thousands of group and individual oxygen generators, respirators, medications and additional medical equipment. He said, our friendship is strong and collaboration during the COVID-19 crisis will only make it stronger. A task force was set up to gather support for Israel's aid to India. Several private entities, Israeli companies, NGOs and the people of Israel came together to contribute towards this aid. Italian ambassador to India V.D. Luca switched on an oxygen plant at ITBP Referral Hospital at Greater Noida. The plant will supply oxygen to more than 100 beds at a time to the COVID-19 patients admitted at the centre. ADG ITBP Manoj Singh Rawat thanked the Italian ambassador for installing the plant. The plant has been installed at the hospital in just 48 hours' time. The ambassador, while speaking on the occasion, remembered the assistance by ITBP when 17 Italian COVID-19 positive tourists were taken care of by the force last year.
The Northeast Frontier Railway has taken steps to facilitate state governments in Northeast to fight against COVID pandemic. The CPRO of the Northeast Frontier Railway said that they have already provided 10 coaches to Nagaland government to be used as beds to treat COVID positive patients. One coach consists of 16 beds with oxygen facilities. On the other hand, the NF Railway has also prepared 150 coaches for the Assam government as requested by the Health Department.
In the Union Territory of Jammu and Kashmir, 3 terrorists of Al-Badr terror outfit were killed in an encounter with security forces in Kanigam area of South Kashmir's Shopian district early this morning. One terrorist also surrendered before the security forces. Talking exclusively to All India Radio News, Director General of Jammu and Kashmir Police, Dilbagh Singh, said the joint security forces had laid a cordon and search operation based on intelligence inputs about the presence of terrorists in Kanigam area.
Last night, security force parties were on patrolling in Shopian district. They got an information that a group of terrorists were hiding in a place. They put a cordon around the place when they came under firing. They made an appeal to the terrorists to surrender, but they refused. Their families were called. Families also made an appeal. One of the terrorists, in response to the appeal, came out and surrendered before the forces. The rest three did not agree. They again started firing on the party, after which encounter started and three of them got neutralized. All of them belong to Al-Badr outfit and all are local.
The Bombay High Court today refused to provide interim protection to former Home Minister of Maharashtra, Anil Deshmukh. He has approached the court and requested to quash the FIR lodged against him by the CBI following a preliminary inquiry in the corruption case. The court adjourned the plea and asked the CBI to file a reply. The court said that Deshmukh can approach the vacation bench in case of extreme urgency.
The world's oldest person, a 118-year-old Japanese woman, has decided not to take part in the torch relay for the Tokyo 2020 Olympics over pandemic fears. An official at her nursing home said yesterday. The official said that Kane Tanaka, who was awarded a Guinness World Record, was slated to be one of the relay participants in Fukuoka in southern Japan, which will start on May 11th. The Olympic torch relay, which kicked off in March, has been hit by a coronavirus outbreak. 6 people who helped with the torch relay were diagnosed with COVID-19. At the stock markets, the Sensex at the Bombay Stock Exchange rose 180 points or 0.4% to trade at 48,858 in the afternoon session a short while ago. The Nifty at the National Stock Exchange added 68 points or 0.5% to 14,687.
And now let's take a look at the weather report and forecast for today. National capital Delhi is having a generally cloudy sky with light rain or drizzle. Maximum temperature will be around 40 degrees Celsius. Minimum was 27 degrees. Mumbai with partly cloudy sky is to see a maximum temperature of around 34 degrees Celsius, rising from a lower level of 27 degrees. Kolkata having rain or thunder showers with strong gusty winds. The city temperature will move from a minimum of 24 degrees Celsius to a maximum of around 34 degrees Celsius. Chennai is witnessing a partly cloudy sky. The upper limit of temperature will be 35 degrees Celsius, while the lower limit was 29 degrees. Srinagar is facing thunderstorm with rain. Temperatures will hover between 12 and 22 degrees Celsius. Jammu is having a partly cloudy sky, becoming generally cloudy towards the evening or night. Temperatures will rise from a minimum of 21 degrees Celsius to a maximum of around 34 degrees. Leh is witnessing a partly cloudy sky and the upper limit of temperature will be around 15 from minimum of 3 degrees Celsius. Gilgit is having a generally cloudy sky. Temperature will hover between 11 and 28 degrees Celsius. Muzaffarabad is having a partly cloudy sky. Temperature will hover between 11 and 23 degrees Celsius. Dehradun is experiencing a partly cloudy sky with 1 or 2 spells of rain or thunder showers. The upper limit of temperature will be around 31 degrees from a minimum of 21 degrees. Chandigarh will have a generally cloudy sky with 1 or 2 spells of rain or thunder showers. Temperature is likely to hover between 24 and 37 degrees Celsius. In Hyderabad, rain or thunder showers would occur towards the evening or night. Temperatures will fluctuate between 25 and 38 degrees Celsius, while Ahmedabad is having a clear sky. Temperatures will hover between 27 and 41 degrees Celsius. And now, before we end the bulletin, the headlines once again. 4-member Home Ministry team in West Bengal to assess post-poll violence in the state. India administers over 16 crore 25 lakh COVID-19 vaccine doses in the country so far. Centre provides more than 17.15 crore vaccine doses to states and union territories. Over 4,12,000 new COVID cases reported in the country in the past 24 hours. More than 3,29,000 patients recovered in the last 24 hours. National recovery rate 81.99%. Kerala to impose complete state-wide lockdown from 8th to 16th of May. In Tamil Nadu, the new government led by DMK President M.K. Stalin to be sworn in tomorrow. Former Union Minister and Rashtriya Lok Dal Chief Ajit Singh passes away after battling with COVID. President, Vice President and Prime Minister expressed grief over the demise. And 3 terrorists killed in an encounter with security forces in South Kashmir's Shopian district. And with that, we end the midday news.